Thank you. And I just realized that I didn't turn the recorder on for the first hour. So all that wonderful in-depth insight is lost. I will maybe put up my notes on the website so you can see what I was reading from, because those were good. Those were important. All right, floor is open. Enough new material, so now I'm just available. We're all available to work with anybody on anything. So jump in, please.
Hi, Lee. This is Ann.
Hi, Ann.
Hey. Oh, gosh, there's been a lot that's come up that you talked about. I'm disappointed that it didn't get recorded.
Yeah, me too.
But one of the things you said was, what's moving is our points of awareness. And I was listening to last week's class. Actually, I listened to it a couple of times, and that was really helpful, especially when you talked about the medical and that medications are concepts of individualizations of God or concepts of God activity.
Yes.
And that the doctor is the Chubb concept of the healing activity of God. I mean, that kind of really made it a lot more clear to me. And when you talk about how important it was for you to maintain your awareness, and I guess that's what brought it back to me about the moving, our points of awareness, because the other day I fell again and broke another bone, and of course I'm pretty sure that's my spiritual path. Seems such great things come out of it, but I had listened to that class right beforehand, and when I got to the emergency room, what an experience it was to be, aware that the doctor was an expression of God, and that the radiologist was an expression of God, and I meditated throughout that entire experience, and I was also amazed at speaking of the word awareness, the awareness exercise I began to do, and it was amazing how the pain in my arm went away when I was aware of my right foot. And going through that. Yeah, that was amazing. And everything that went through, I remember at one point they said, "Do you want to watch TV?" And I go, "Oh, heavens, no." And, the whole thing, I mean, it was like no one was even there. It was an amazing experience. And so I really thank you for that, for bringing all that up. I'm glad that I was able to listen to that, and what came out of that too is kind of what you were just talking about, that the falling and breaking a bone is like that I'm believing that I'm a body, and I'm a body that can fall and get hurt, and I know right before I fell, which I thought this was kind of funny, because I got to work and there was gravel on the walkway, and I said, "Oh gosh, I better sweep that off or I'm going to slip and fall."
See?
So right after I swept it off, I walked in the greenhouse and fell. Okay. So it was almost like that with the resistance behavior to not fall, and I did some work with the kid on falling, and there's been a long history of falling and getting hurt from the time I was 5 years old. So so we did some work with that, and I even did a little Byron Katie, like I never want to fall again, and now I look forward to falling again. So it's really something to see that, yeah, I mean, at that stage of my consciousness, that's where I'm at. And, but it was really, really helpful to take that. And I was listening to Matt Kahn, and that's the thing, whenever I break a bone, I get a lot of time in spiritual work. And it says the universe will put the same experience back in your life until you've seen what you need to see for your consciousness to expand. Mm-hmm. And don't try to get away from it. And, that was just comforting. He kind of talks about, it's kind of good for us to put words to it, So, I don't know, each broken bone I get a little more awakened and a little more, and it's a little easier each time. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thank you. Sounds like you're doing good work, actually. That's just the Chubb belief, Mm-hmm. It's just that Chubb believes that we can slip and fall and break stuff, and Chubb also believes that the older we get, the more likely we are to break stuff, and this is just all Chubb beliefs, and
that's right.
And we're a statistic on falling and breaking bones, as long as we're a human being. The error is in, and this is coming out, coming now. The error is, and it's back to the thing we just read, the error is in believing in the reality of the one that could fall. See, I catch myself all the time doing the same thing because the appearance is that my balance is not good. And so, the instinct is to be very careful to grab a good hold on the stairs when I'm coming down the stairs. And if I'm being really careful holding onto the stairs, coming down the stairs, that means I believe I'm the physical body, doesn't it?
Yep. I know, and I think what's hard too is sometimes I wish I did something that wasn't so visible, because now everywhere I go, and I don't know how to handle that really, except in my mind. It's like you were saying about the doctors, you don't share with them. Like when he came in and said your elbow's shattered, in my thought I said that's what you see. But if I said that to him, that would have been, and he wanted, he said, you want to look at the x-ray? And I said, no. I mean, to me, I've already got two senses involved here, the feeling of the pain and the hearing the news. And I don't want to add any more. I don't want to add to it. But yeah, when you go out there, well, what you do? And then you're gonna, then they got to bring up the osteoporosis and the age, and are you taking calcium? And and it just opens me up to so much malpractice. That part, I like hiding out in my house, but I have to go out public for the next 7 weeks with a cast on, and that's something. But what I'm thinking I need to do, and you can help me with this, is that I just to myself, I just keep reassuring that the truth is, and that's all I can really do. Is just to keep, I guess you call that protective work.
Yeah, I guess you're being strongly reminded not to take the objective world at face value.
Good one, yeah.
That's what it is. We're taking, that's what it's very hard. I do that all the time. I believe I have a body that looks like what I see, and that's just such nonsense, The fact is there's only one body, and it's God's body, you know. The only body there is God's body. And chances are God's body does not have a shattered elbow.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, yeah. I know. I know.
So,
yeah. And
an opportunity to work.
Yeah, it is. And you've been talking about dreams a lot, and what was interesting is that night, I was listening a lot to Joel's tape. It was a 1953 tape on treatment, where he walks you through the process of it. And that night I had a dream that I had the cast on, but it didn't hurt, and it wasn't really broken, and it had this miraculous healing. Mm-hmm. And I was just going around and really doing my thing with this heel that I just, and when I woke up, I said, it's my wide awake dream and my asleep dream, they're all a dream.
Yeah, the asleep dream was just as real as the wide awake dream.
That's what I thought, and it was just, I just wanted to stay with that dream and just really think about, that was cool.
It's every bit as real as the awake dream, which is to say that neither of them have any reality at all. There is no elbow.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I could hear that, but of course, apparently I believe it.
So do we all.
But that's at my stage. Yeah, it's at my stage of development, and I guess one of the things you said, we talked about last week too, is that Dr. Len, he said you're not freeing yourself of the material concept, but you're freeing yourself of the concern of the material concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did I hear that correctly?
I think so, yeah. Believing that,
Okay. It's kind of like drop all concern, but yeah.
It is. The whole point is, if you did not look at the objective world and accept it at face value, you would have no concern. The level of your concern is a direct measure of the extent to which you're taking what you're seeing at face value, believing it's real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it was certainly it's certainly been an interesting experience to have this many broken bones and to be able to see the progress.
Yeah.
Each one. That was a pretty amazing experience that I went through. I knew Dr. Lynch. I did that. I'm sorry and thank you. I did that. I used so many of the things that we had used in this class.
And do that Ho'oponopono thing every time it comes up, because by doing so, you're taking a little bit of that belief out of Chubb.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yes, Ann, go ahead.
Here's the other Ann. Hi, guys. And just to tag on to that, I like hearing that it's, about the drop all concern. So I work as a physical therapist, and 90% of my clients are people who fall. Mm-hmm. And my job is to train this deficit and reduce their fall risk. Mm-hmm. So, I spend a lot of my day doing all these detailed tests that are statistically connected with, if you score this much on the test, you're likely to fall. And we even set our insurance goals around improving the numbers on these tests up the scale, so you're now in a less fall risk category. And so I know I get faced with that 90% of my clients, and when I remember that it's, God talking to God, mm-hmm. I have direct experience with two different scenarios of sitting there and unconcerned about what, what am I supposed to do with this? Doing with these people, but not attached to the outcome and not concerned about that. Versus wondering what I can do to change it and feeling some sense of responsibility that they're not improving. And so I know both sides of that.
Yeah.
But I really think that in a lot of cases, I'm not like, I don't go around in concern about it. I realize I'm placed, that's just what's happening. I'm placed there. And I just kind of have an appeal of show me what I'm supposed to do here.
Yeah.
That kind of like use me feeling about it.
Yeah.
But it's really curious to spend that time. It's a real opportunity for work.
Sure.
That I'm presented with a physical human body. That's the appearance. Something's wrong, and my job is to fix it. So I don't feel a lot of concern most of the time about it. I guess that's just my spot to be in with it.
Yeah, that's a fun opportunity there. If they went to a practitioner and asked for help with their falling problems and got a healing, and suddenly they had no tendency to fall at all, we'd all think, wow, that was a nice spiritual demonstration. And if they go to a hospital and have a physical therapist come into their life and take them down this path, because that's the level at which they can accept the healing, given their level of consciousness, then there's no difference, is there? I mean, in one case, a spiritual healing manifests the healing, and in another case, it comes through a entirely different process. But what's happening is that the patient is receiving the healing at the level that they can receive it, and they, aren't high enough to call a Christian Science practitioner, so they go get a physical therapist. But there's no difference at all in what's happening. It's just the level at which the patient thinks it's happening, at which the patient sees it. And there's no difference at all in what's happening. The fact is that their healthy nature is being revealed to them, and it's just how can it, how can they see it? They need to get help somehow. And but your point is your work is to not think you can help them or fix them, but to remember that you're helping reveal the fact that they don't need fixing.
Right, so for when I come to this class and, we kind of settle into the truth that we hear, it's really clear what a little tip of the iceberg it is.
Yeah.
Every time I can remember to remember. So I know that there's like chunks of the time that I malpractice these people. I'm out there trying to fix something. But again, I'm much happier to take myself off the hook for whatever that was. Because again, on the activity and it's all unfolding perfectly. Yeah. I don't go around, in strife, feeling like I fucked it up.
Right. Yeah.
It's just amusing when I notice this other spot of total lack of concern and remember how I was like caught up in it before.
Right. Perfect. See, and it's an indication of your spiritual growth. And there are times that you get caught up in it, but now there are times that you don't.
Yes.
And that's huge.
The catch it moments.
Yeah, most of those people over there have no moments in which they're not caught up in it. And they always say that the true measure of your spiritual progress is your reaction. And
So catching it when I catch
is
letting it be
is the best you can do, and we all know that you're doing the best you can, and it couldn't be any different. And so you just
there's my attitude.
Enjoy watching yourself grow spiritually, as evidenced by the frequency in which you're in the right place spiritually when you're working with these people.
And when I can catch it that I'm invested in it, it really propels me into the kid work and to just go, oh, hon, you were trying to fix them, or we thought there was something wrong.
Right, exactly.
Or look at Anne being concerned is sometimes enough of a step out of it for me to not believe it.
Yeah,
Oh, look at that. I was all concerned about that.
wonderful. And
Just
that's,
a little step away.
and that's not any significant difference. If you have a, I'm sorry, Bruce, forgive me, then you'll be doing Ho'oponopono, and you're taking that out of the consciousness as well as out of your own. Great. Yeah. The Indians say that when crows are cawing, someone is lying.
It's been entertaining to watch her feeding the other
They're
one.
feeding each other. One is feeding the other bird.
I think the other one's a baby, and that's the mom.
Yes, so fed.
For those of you on the phone, I have a fountain out here, and a flock of crows has discovered it, and they come by now frequently and drink treat it like a bird bath. And I love my friend Tony, who was an Indian, who said the Indians know that when the crows are cawing, it means somebody's lying, because he always said this at the 11th step meeting. And we used to really enjoy the fact, and there was a huge flock of crows that came there every Thursday night and screamed a lot, So we were thinking, wow, how much lying is going on. So thanks, guys, for reminding us. Yeah, I know, it's not true.
What are they feeding each other?
It looks like bread.
They found something.
Anyway, who else? Thank you, Anne, with an E. Who else?
I have something interesting. It's good news.
Oh, good.
My daughter, I was seeing that she has a weight problem and we can't get it under control. And then we took her to an endocrinologist and they just said she's fine. She's just a bigger person. And so I just dropped it. Mm-hmm. And I just let it go, and I wasn't trying to control the food anymore because it wasn't helping. I just stopped.
Yay!
And 6 weeks went by, and she maintained. That's the first time, because I just don't see a problem anymore.
Right. Mm-hmm. So
it's amazing.
So she's free not to be a problem. Yay!
Yeah. And then my husband was like, he might have to have a low budget movie, because that again, the budget, the whole debt thing. I just said, whatever. I'm just not seeing an issue here, and then it might be solved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful.
So I just wrote, what do you want to see? And just all of this came out.
Right.
And I guess this is what I need to read every day, because it's what...
Right.
What do you want to see?
What do you want to see? Good question.
I'll share on that. And what I've been hearing about the medical stuff and all of it. And I kind of have felt this. I mean, not kind of. I have felt this, that I've been in Chubb, and I've had some appearances go on, which is somewhat unusual for me to have, for lack of better words, get sick. And I usually rarely go to the doctors, even if I have whatever. I mean, it's a rare exception. But a couple months ago, before I went to the Matt Kahn thing, I had an appearance, and it had been going on for several weeks. And it finally came to me because I thought about, and I was doing some holistic stuff, and I thought, look how much energy I'm putting into this, and how much it's draining me. And I'm getting ready to go to this class, and I thought, what you talked about, just get back to solve it and get back to work, or do what you have to do, whatever means. I thought, it's $5 to go to the doctor. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go to the urgent care. And he, and I'm saying this because I wonder how much I let that in, what he said. He said, oh, I think you have that, because it was the weirdest thing. And it was just a strange kind of, I couldn't figure out what was going on. And he said, oh, I think you have that thing that's going around that has a 2-month cycle. And he's like, because I said, I just feel so strange, and it's this and that and whatever. And I was just so desperate at the time because I felt horrible. And he said, and I pretty much let him do, for the most part, whatever. He wanted to load me up on 2 weeks of antibiotics, and I did kind of half of what he suggested because I thought it was overkill. And sure enough, he said, and if you don't do all this, it'll probably come back. Well, it did, and it has, and it's been. I was thinking yesterday, because this week I got sick again, and this week it would have been about two months, and so I thought, And as soon as he said that, I said, darn, I let that in her, because it did. It kept playing over and over, let alone the fact you're in the doctor's office. I'm accepting, his treatment because I didn't have any better solutions. Mm-hmm. And I went ahead and took most of his treatment, but not all of it. And so that's where I've been. And I think that's the state of consciousness that I've been at too, is that and I actually had to go back one more time because I had a sinus thing that was so painful I couldn't handle it again. And so I guess that's what I'm tuned into, and I have to just say that. Maybe it'll break it because I'm tired of, and I have thought about sometimes hearing people talk, and I really haven't had anything that's hung on that long, and I thought, I've heard about us talking about the kid resides in the body, maybe it's something to do with the kid, or, obviously my state of consciousness, but I'm more tuned into Chubb than I am to truth, I guess, so. And I want to say something about the kid thing too, about my child, my son. And I feel, and I was kind of on the tails of what Stacey was saying. I was away for a week, and I noticed, he's with his dad during that time. Whenever he comes back from his dad, I feel like there's a lot of Chubb being radiated, more so. Not that our house is perfect, but maybe more Chubb being radiated. He comes back with a lot of Chubb stuff, Chubb beliefs, things, I forget that he's 8 and he's a sponge. Mm-hmm. All this thing that he's being, well, Shinny told me this, and it's a lot of times she tells him medical stuff, and I'm like, that's not true. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say. Like, I hear this stuff, and I'm like, it's just so hard to have him exposed, but, I know kids get exposed to everything, but it's in his, at their house. And I know there's a lot of news going on. They leave the news on the TV all the time, which we don't have. He comes back kind of dysregulated in a lot of Chubb beliefs. And actually, I think, anyways. So this last week he came back and he was, there was an incident that happened, and I have been noticing what Anne just shared too about, or whatever was shared about it's what I'm seeing, and I try to not see him. I try to see him as what you just talked about with children and stuff, but sometimes I forget, and I've been forgetting that. Mm-hmm. And so lately the appearances have been a little more extreme. Well, the other day when I said he couldn't watch his tablet, he went from his bedroom where he was crying, and when he doesn't, kids don't get their way at that age, and that's what happens, at least for him. He gets really upset with me, and he ran in the kitchen and grabbed a knife and pointed it towards himself and said he wanted to stab himself in the eye and kill himself. And boy, did that get my attention. Part of me, I was alarmed, but then part of me, as I held him on the ground and tried to talk to him, I was thinking about all what we've been the women talking about here, the script work. I immediately thought of that. Like, what was that was so painful for him? What script read that he thought that he needed to just, do that? But, I don't even think he understands what that is. But also, the first thing I thought about is, wow, that's really in consciousness about suicide, because there's been a lot on the news about different, there's been a couple, which I don't follow the news, but I can't help but people tell me what's happening, And so I thought maybe he's, kind of absorbed that what's been consciousness or something. And so, but I did have I don't know if I had a big reaction, but there was concern.
Sure.
What do I need to do? And part of me has found myself talking about it to a couple people, more people trying to get help, like some support for him. But also feeling like I shouldn't be reinforcing this in my consciousness about, or being so concerned. So those are the couple things that I'm thinking about.
Yeah. I hear you. It's ongoing work, because we tend to take at face value the our objective experience. It's very hard.
And the thing, the Joel thing today, I think it was, that caught my attention. I don't remember hearing him say that before. I don't know if it ties into this, kind of, but I don't know. I think it was today's, where he said the first line or so was, that about the whole concept that we have any choice. I was like, I don't remember. I've heard you talk about it. I've heard Robert talk about it. I've heard Matt talk about it. But I was like, wow, he mentioned about not, and I can't remember what he said. I mean, he did go on to elaborate, but he basically said that that's just, I don't even remember the words he used. Did you write that down about what he...
Just nailed it. It's just so wonderful. For this morning's 295A.
295, yeah.
The reason we come together is we are being presented with what would seem to be a choice in a way of life. This is from the morning tape for you, those of you on the phone. We are being presented with what would seem to be a choice in a way of life. I was just, wondering if I was going to get, would not have surprised me to have gotten 10 phone calls. This tape was so powerful. While there is this choice, you and I have no choice as to which way we will travel. And I would not even say that there is a choice. There are two apparent alternatives, but we have no choice as to which way we will travel. There are many paths, but no one on earth has a choice as to which one he will travel. The entire belief that man has free choice is as mythical as Santa Claus. I mean, that's fairly clear. Don't you think?
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
I mean, none of this, what does it mean by that? The entire belief that man has free choice is as mythical as Santa Claus. Then it goes on, and that's good. We still have 10 or 15 minutes. I was going to save this for next week, but we're led to it. Each of us is a state of consciousness, and we are what we are at this particular moment, and that is all that we can be. We cannot be anything greater than we are, and we cannot be anything lesser than we are at this moment. There is no choice about it. It's wonderful. We have to learn to accept ourselves as we are. Unless we do this, we will find it much more difficult to find the path and to relax in the path that is our destiny. Now see, and even that, he talks like you have a choice about it. He said, unless we do this, we will not find it we will find it much more difficult to find the path.
That sounds like choice. Yeah.
What he means to say is, until we do this, we will find it much more difficult to find the path. Because unless sounds like we have a choice, like we can decide whether we're going to do this or not, and that's not the case. The fact is, until we do this, we have to learn to accept ourselves as we are. Until we do this, we will find it much more difficult to find the path and to relax in the path that is our destiny. Yeah.
So he's saying we have to accept ourselves as we are, that we don't have a choice, and is that essentially what his resolution to it is?
That's what he's saying. He says you have to accept yourself the way you are, and he's saying, and you may or may not do that, and you have to accept that too.
That you don't have a choice over that.
You have to accept whether you're accepting yourself or not as the way you are. Right?
Well, I've also heard him say that there's nothing you can do to really, and you keep saying that too, there's nothing you can really do to increase or decrease the amount of, I think, work you're doing or you're studying, that you really don't.
Right. You are where you are, and you're doing what you can do. And when it's time to do more work, you will be led into it. It will happen,
Yeah, I like that. I don't like it, but I hear it.
I had never heard that before. Two or three times he comes very close to saying there is no free will. But this time he came right out and said it. I've heard listened to a lot of Joel, and I was just like, whoa! I haven't heard him be that straightforward about that topic before, so it really got my attention. The only place I've heard it, there's two places earlier that I noticed that I made some notes on them too, that he came very close to saying it, but that's as clear as it can be. And and I come back to Robert's question. Who would have the free will? Somebody who had the personal power to make choices and make decisions, right? In other words, someone who had a power separate from God. Who has free will? Nobody. if there is only one, and that one is God, who could have free will? And it's just so clear when you think about it. In order for me to make a choice, I have to have the power to choose, okay? And if I have the power to choose, then God is not omnipotent, because now I'm making choices. And if I accept the omnipresence of God, then the one here who appears to be making the choice is God, right? The spiritual being. So, free will just does not hold together.
And what it does is solidify that I have to embrace, or that I can embrace all of it, like every moment of the path. There's like nothing wrong, and it's not happening slower, or, it's just happening in its perfect time.
Right, and you will either embrace that or you won't, and the difference will be how comfortable you are on the path, and but still, it's not your choice to embrace it more. That's what this unfolding process is. You will embrace it more as your point of awareness of who you are moves down the scale.
And I guess that's where the peace is for me, in giving permission that wherever I don't and wherever I'm stuck in Chubb, it's just all part of, all that melting down, melting away, my new awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the whole point.
Then I take me and them off the hook.
Absolutely. And if you do that consciously, the people around you will change, because you no longer have them responsible for their choices, good or evil. Because they're not making choices either, I am at this instant the totality of all the experiences and conditioning and everything that I've received up to this point, and that will absolutely determine what my choice would be. It's not that I make a choice, it's that what looks like my choice is completely determined by 10,000 lifetimes of conditioning and such like an experience. And there's only one choice possible. So there are no choices. Anybody out there want to jump in on that? Or anything else? We still have 10 minutes. Please come in.
Hi, it's Edie.
Hi, Edie. Yay.
Man, I don't even know where to start. The big thing for me today was just a huge lift. Hearing Anne talk about her fall and the awareness exercise, and accepting where I'm at, and I am in moments, during the week where I am at work, when I'm feeling the letting go, the dropping of concern. Not all the time, but there are. I can just feel the improvement. That's all I can say at this point. It's funny because I'm starting to recognize, like, in other areas of my life, like, I never have any kind of, one of my big fears is not knowing and trying to wrap the intellect as to having an answer and to knowing the outcome. And all that ever does is just bring on a lot of suffering and a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. And in instances in my life where I don't know what the outcome is going to be, and don't have the concern, like when I'm, anywhere in a city where I've never been before, or any kind of place where I'm just traveling or going to a destination, I never have any kind of worry as to that sense of being lost. it's kind of funny. You know, I had that notion came to me. It's just, you know, it's really the same thing. You know, where you are, and I struggle with this at my work because it's, and I see that that's where my work is, because even though my desire really isn't in this it's really getting really heavy as far as technology, and I really have not that much desire to learn more than I already do, and it's kind of funny because in some ways I do. I've been surprised myself that I even know what I know. And that's part of the letting go, too, is, you know, not having the answers. If I just do the one task at a time, and hearing your story, Lee, about the big stack of dirty dishes was a huge help in me getting through my day, because the tasks are the same. And you can only do the one dish that's in front of you. Mm-hmm. And it's like that in other aspects of my life, whether it's artistic, because in music you can only play, you know, the note that's in front of you. You can only, you know, do what you can. And I don't have any kind of, now I did before when I was younger, but as I'm getting, you know, into music more and more and doing this work, I'm letting go of that too, and I'm finding it more fun, and it's more joyous, and I'm starting to realize that that's the point to all of it. You know, work doesn't have to be work. When you just let the mind go, you just do the task. I mean, not to say that I'm afraid of hard work. I mean, we're all working here, but it doesn't have to be so painful. And in my music, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And I've been doing these weekly videos because it's just fun for my kid. She likes making movies and making music that goes with it. And it's just really, you know, bare bones in it. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I have no idea every week what I'm going to do. And it's been a lot of fun, and so trying to put that into other aspects of my life, and it's kind of funny because I do a meditation going up the 17 floors in my office building before I think of Joel, the doors opening, and it's, he's making the way before I even go there. It is what it is, and it's really cool to have that moment as the elevator doors open, to walk through and have no idea what the day is going to be, and then having the 22-minute timer, it just helps me get centered, and some days are better than others, but it's definitely been a continuous improvement, and in this way, it's also very similar to, practicing in music as well. You can only do what you're at. And to think that I'm like, East Perlman or anything, it's ridiculous. But I can have the same joy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just that I've been finding that too, that level of acceptance of where I am, and all of it it's getting clearer. It's hard for me to describe, but I definitely can feel it. I've always been an intuitive thinker. I may not be able to explain it, but I can feel it when I know it. Mm-hmm. And so listening about the acorn and the oak tree was huge too, so thank you.
Thank you so much for sending me the Devil Goes Down to Georgia.
Yeah.
You are so much more musical now than you were 3 years ago.
Thanks, Lee. I can feel it.
Oh, it's just oozing out of you now on all the instruments. I did not find anything funny about that, but I sure was laughing with joy. You know? It didn't occur to me that you might take that word the wrong way, but I was just laughing with joy, my tears streaming down my face. That was so much fun, so full of you and so full of God. So, yay you, and thank you for sending that to me.
Thank you, Lee.
And I think we can stop on that. It's 5 o'clock. We're very close. Let's rest for a second. Leave on a very high note. Edie fiddling. All right, gang. Thank you so much. I love you all. See you next week.
Love you. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Wade. Everyone, have a good week.
Yep, you all too.
Thanks, everyone.